Okay, everyone, welcome back. Now, moving on, we're going to be creating our very first widget together. And that's going to be the simplest one, which will be our crosshair. Do you remember we didn't show you how to create that before? So the aim is that when we press play, we'll be able to see where we're pointing. In the middle, we're going to have a little square that'll give us an idea of where we're looking. Okay, so we'll create that from scratch together. So to do that, I'll add it to our player as well. So when we press play, it all works. The first thing though is to create a widget type blueprint. We're going to do that under, let's do it under widget, this folder here. Right click, user interface, widget blueprint. Okay. And in Unreal, what we'll do is we'll name it widget first underscore and then what it actually is. Okay. The crosshair. There we go. So let's open it up. And as we said before, we'll just adjust the screen size to make sure it's 1920 by 1080. There we go. Cool. So we have our widget all good to go. So what do we need to do with regards to the design side of things? Well, basically we need to have an image in the center of the canvas. And remember, the canvas is our screen, okay? So an image with a crosshair design needs to be right here in the middle. It's a PNG image that was needed with a transparent background. So we add it right here in the center, and it's going to appear all the time when the player is in the game mode. So as long as the character's playing, or the game's playing, it's going to be shown. So I'll create a panel, first of all, to help us. The horizontal one we'll use. It's just easier to create it this way. There we go. So let's put that in the middle. Cool. So now you got your horizontal panel, and we put it here without adjusting any dimensions. For now, it's always going to be centered if we press this. Okay. So there's my anchor here to center it, and that will just mean it's in the middle of our screen. So no matter what the dimension of the screen is, it will always be centered. And here I can set the positions of 0 and 0 to be the center, and I can align it with 0.5 and 0.5. So that's it, centered in our screen, just like we showed you in the previous class. I can choose to put the size here if I want to. If I want to make it bigger, that's entirely up to you. Since it's a box with only one image inside it, what I can do is enable this, which is the size to content feature. Okay, it will resize the horizontal box according to the size of the image that we're using. And you might find it easier to do it that way. So we resize the image and everything is all good. So now let's import the image. To do that, we need to insert an image here on the horizontal box, just in order of the hierarchy. So the canvas panel is the main one, then horizontal box, and then the image within. Let's rename it to crosshair. And my image is a crosshair, so I'll get the image and insert it into where it says brush, just here, okay? So that helps us to set the appearance, and it's an image that we're using, which affects the appearance. So here, there's so many different controls, the color, etc. So if you didn't have an image, you could simply just put a color if you wanted to, and control its opacity here. You can set it to 0 and it's totally transparent, and 1 is obviously totally visible. But we'll get our image, which I've already added into our project, which is under the content browser, and it's in icons. Okay, so it's this one here. We'll drag it in. So there we go. So now we have our crosshair image. Perfect. And it's quite big, so we simply need to just adjust the image size, which we can do here. I think we'll set it to 30 by 30. Okay. And that setting is quite handy for us. I think that looks nice. And see how it's adapted to the horizontal box? If you enlarge it by 50 by 50 or 30 by 30, it works within the constraints of the horizontal box. So there's our first widget. Okay, it's an image used within a panel which only contains the aim or the crosshair so that we can know where we're looking. So that's why we started off with a simple widget, okay? But now it's created, what do we need to do? Well, I need to add it to the scene, don't I? Okay, so there are many ways to include this. I can put this blueprint, this routine, I can follow a blueprint method, and I can put it anywhere in the scene as we do with other blueprints. For example, you can add it to the level blueprint. You can put it in so many different places, but I prefer to create an actor blueprint, which I can add to the scene because it's easy to choose if I want to have it on or not. So if I don't want it, I just delete the actor from the scene and it's gone. In other cases, if I add it to the game mode, for example, or to the level blueprint, in case I want to disable it, I need to disable this through a much lengthier method. So it's better and more practical to create an actor blueprint. I'll click here, actor blueprint, and I'll name this BP_crosshair. Cool. Okay. And I can put it anywhere in the scene. It doesn't really matter as long as it's in the scene. Okay. So let's add it here. You might want to maybe keep it out the way so you don't get confused, but it's in the scene. Okay. So good to go. Now we've opened it up, we can see here you got a default scene route. I don't really need to do anything here because that's just the visual side, but we do need to look at the commands and the event graph. Okay, so what do we need to do? Where do we start? Well, the first thing I need to do is tell Unreal that I want this widget in the scene. So I need to create it, don't I? I need to make it visible. Basically, just as it works with the first person blueprint, when I press play, the character is spawned into the scene. The same thing happens with the widget. I need to tell it to be spawned into the scene, so to speak. Okay. So we have a specific node for creating this called create widget. There we go. And I have a node constructs here, a blueprint from a given class. So that's how the create widget is set up. The class I want is our widget crosshair. So I can plug that in here. There we go. You can click and drag. If it doesn't work, then just click and use the arrow to assign it. Okay, so I have a crosshair widget here, good to go. Now, it belongs to the player itself. This doesn't matter to us since we only have one player, and I have a return value here. It returns a value which is a reference of the widget. So that's the simple basics of the create widget node. I can promote it to a variable as well, and I'll name it crosshair reference. Crosshair ref. There we go. So you see the variable category as well has been created. It's a widget type. So widget crosshair actually is a category exactly or specifically for this widget. And I'll save this and I'll set this variable with this value. There we go. When it starts, I do this when I press play in the game, in the event begin play. With event begin play, it's going to create the widget. Basically, that's what's happening. Okay. As soon as we start, the widget's going to be created. But it's not adding it to the screen. It's only being created or only being spawned into the scene. So let me just comment on this for now, just to keep things organized for us. Call it create crosshair widget, because that's exactly what it does. Cool. So now I want to add it to our screen. I want to add it to my viewport, which is our screen. Okay. I'm using certain phrases to help us see what to do and what commands we need. So to do this, simply pull out and, oh, actually, since we work with menus, when I press play, the first thing that's going to appear will be our menu, won't it? Then our crosshair appears later. So first I'll create a customizable event. I'll do this via custom event and I'll name it add crosshair to add the crosshair to the screen. Okay. And now I can use this reference here that is this variable, which is the widget. And I can add here a node called add to viewport. Okay. And the target is our widget that we created. So I simply add this. That's going to put it on screen for us. It's as simple as that, really. So I'll add here a comment, add crosshair. And that's another custom event. Cool. So for now, I'll do this. What's going to happen is we'll press start to add this crosshair here. Okay. But later we're going to make a couple of changes. But for now, we'll just do it so we can see it on screen. And then we can change it later on, especially with regard to the order that it appears. So here I'll simply add an event here. There we go, add crosshair. So that adds our custom event. So I'll create and bring it into the event, which is already here to appear on the screen. So let's test it out. Let's press play. And we'll see what happens. See that? So straight away, it's created the widget and it's on screen. Now, if I don't like this node and I don't want to use it, I just unplug it. It doesn't appear. So I'll leave this here in standby. Then we'll add this to another routine later on. But that's the simple method of how you get it on screen. I'll also create an event to remove this crosshair from screen as well, because I'll need it to be invisible when I've got the menu on screen, right? We don't want them showing at the same time. So when I want the menu, I need to be able to remove it. So it needs this movement of creating or the ability of removing and adding. So I'll create another custom event here and I'll call it remove crosshair. There we go, remove crosshair, cool. And I'll pull my reference again from here. Okay, cool. So there's our reference, and we can find a node here called remove from parent. That's it. So that removes the widget. And the parent would be like, almost like the master, like in our materials class. It's like the master material. But for us, only this node is going to be removed. So there are other ways to leave it visible or invisible, but this is the simplest because it's only a node. And we'll do it this way in another widget later on as well, where you'll see it being used too. I'll put here remove crosshair. And I'll just do this as a test so you can see it all working. Let's pull out from here and create a delay with 10 seconds. And we'll add the remove crosshair that I just created. There we go, remove crosshair. So our custom event again, we can plug it in here. And let's test it. So it's on. Now, 10 seconds later, it's going to be removed. Okay, so just look out for that. There we go. So it's removed. Actually, I had to click it to start, so I'll do it again. So I'm moving the screen and I'm in the project. So it should move now. There we go. It's gone. 10 seconds, it disappears. So both of our events are working. So let's delete this and we'll save it for now. And that's it. So that our crosshair is working and our widget is created and showing on screen. In the next class, we'll go on to discuss even more blueprints that we'll use.